too.
Is Ken coming?
He didn't say he wasn't. So.
Stands under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
He's not late.
All right. Roll call. Mayor Brian Lewis. Council President Roger Perry. Councilor Jeff Hensley is absent. Councilor Adina Oliveris.
Present.
Councilor Joe Parsons. And staff Alex McCadden, City Recorder JD is not here. Lucky. Visitors.
Ray Jackman. Scott McDowell, City of Brownsville. I don't think we're going to pay the bills for that, huh?
I'll second.
I'll make you want to pay the minutes last meeting also. Or we say.
We need a second.
What do you ask for? Gotcha. Okay, I'll make a motion to pay, approve the minutes from the last meeting. I second that.
Any public comment?
Yeah, public comment.
We don't have any meeting participants, so that's that. At this time, Mr. Mayor, I wanted to recommend that we suspend the agenda and invite City Administrator from Brownsville, Scott McDowell, to give a presentation. Since he's here for this one item, I think it would be nice to let him just do his thing and then we can move on. We'll just need a motion to suspend.
Make a motion to suspend. I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, how are you? Where's all yours, man? Thank you. Mayor, I appreciate it. I've spent 32 years in the profession and been through a lot of council meetings, so
You're still smiling.
nice to be here. I mean, you got to keep it going.
I should saw them working on LOC. You have to keep on small cities without having county involved.
She's Adina's seen me do some stuff already, and she's been right there with me mixing it up too.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with the second meeting you said. You watching?
Well, I do appreciate y'all having me over tonight. We really appreciate Sodaville, and it's really, in my opinion, it is what rural Oregon is about. And one of the things we're about is trying to do that same thing is getting on together a little bit. And we did that when back in September, our 5 cities, Brownsville, Harrisburg, Sodaville, Scioto, and Halsey got together and put a letter together. We were looking at the league's priorities, and it really wasn't matching what we're doing here in rural Oregon or what our values are. We didn't like it very much. So we all wrote the letter, and then we got together on December 22nd. Patty Mulvihill, who's the executive director, Adina was there. Yeah, you were on the phone. She came down, the executive director from League of Oregon Cities. She brought Jim McCauley, who's the head lobbyist, with her. Brought Lisa Trevino, was the head of membership. And we met for about 2 hours or so, just over 2 hours, and expressed our concerns about the direction that the league was heading, that we didn't feel that it represented our rural values. And it didn't seem that the league was winning enough on our issues, because we felt that the bigger cities like Portland and the special interest groups and the nonprofits were getting their way. And we were just, if it was a pickup truck, we weren't in the driver's seat, and we weren't in the little back seat. We were like in the back of the pickup truck in a lawn chair, just riding. Anyway, so we expressed that concern. And the League of Oregon Cities really is supposed to be there for all cities, right? Here their vision is, live in thriving communities that are equitable healthy and safe. Well, I don't really even know about the word equitable in there, but whatever. The LOC is the essential and trusted partner for local, state, and federal community leaders in developing policy and legislation to empower Oregon cities through collaboration, advocacy, training, sharing best practices. Okay. I mean, it's a big job. I get it. I understand. There's a lot of size, cities of different sizes with different priorities, and we all have different priorities. But I will say that we were at Capitol Day, and it seemed that the state was going regardless of your D's or R's. And if I say something political that offends anybody, that's not my intent. I'm not trying to be political. I'm just trying to call it like I see it. But it seemed to me that day that the D's and the R's were on the same page, whether the issue was homelessness or affordable housing or healthcare or climate change initiatives or whatever it was. And that's how it kind of feels right now. They sent this out. This is kind of what ignited the fire. They sent these priorities out where the things that they were going to work on, and they asked all 241 cities, hey, pick the top 5 things. And I know Harrisburg's council was like, some of this stuff is insane. Measure 110 shortcomings. Well, we want to help the homeless. That you do what you do with Measure 110, and you allow illegal drugs, which is part of the problem that causes folks to be homeless, is addiction. And you're putting fuel right next to the fire and then screaming that there's a fire, right? Attorney-client privilege. Some of this stuff is just, it is what it is, and it's a little silly. But some of this stuff, adequate funding for state climate measures. We don't have adequate funding for water lines, sewer lines for rural Oregon. But we're going to take, we're going to take more. And I know you were in the Army, and I know what's going through your head right now. Yeah, sounds right. Because, government's not like peppermint, because peppermint leaves a good taste in your mouth, right? So, digital equity and inclusion, cybersecurity policies. I know we all belong to City County Insurance Services, and they've done some things, honestly, in the last 3 or 4 years that I'm not too fond of either. With some of that, I was telling my council, if we adopted like a 28 or 30 page policy that they required us to do. I do all the IT because we're a small city, right? And I told council, I said, if we did it the way they wanted us to do it, I'd have to hire a full IT person. We don't have the money for that. So we have the lowest, form of coverage because of that. Again, it's a problem because it's happening with all of the state agencies, and even the ones that we've started, like the LOC, the League of Oregon Cities, is something that started because people were tired. They wanted to protect charter government in the state of Oregon. We've got an Oregon state constitutional right that says the cities have home rule, meaning that 5 people on this council speak for the citizens of Sodaville. And you have that right. But what's been happening increasingly is the state has been top-down approach. It kind of went from what I called a guided approach, where it's like, oh, hey, Alex, hey, yeah, so it's this TMDL thing. We're working on this, and we're going to come alongside you. We're going to give you a template. And, we don't have to involve council too much. We just really want you to make sure that you're aware of how runoff works. And they'd work with you. And then they turned about 8 years ago, which got me lit up. I don't know if y'all remember One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or not, but it all turned Nurse Ratched. Now they're telling you what to do and when to do it and how to do it.
No, not necessarily how to do it.
Well, that's true. But in a lot of cases, they are telling you how to do it too. I mean, it's gotten silly. So after we had our meeting in December, the 5 cities, after they left, we sat around and talked about what it would look like, what the next steps would look like. And what we ended up on is, hey, advocacy is a priority. We said that's the first thing. The second thing was we need a little professional assistance because we need some training. We need not only to the city manager, but maybe Alex doesn't. He's a little bit ahead of the curve because of what he does already legislatively. But we need some training for our elected officials. We need some training for our staff, and we started building some capacity there. And then the third thing was, internal policy. Maybe we have an internal policy in all the cities. Maybe we don't. We did this in Brownsville where the council is going to create a subcommittee that's going to kind of put up some rails so we're not going all over the place, that we're kind of staying focused on the big things that are important to the city of Brownsville: water, sewer, stormwater, roads, the basic foundational principles of city government, because that's what our resources will bear, right? We can't be doing all this. I always think of our government like a train, like a big train. our train can't do a 180. And it seems like over the last few years, I mean, these fads that the state keeps, squirrel, keeps chasing, really just, it's not good public policy, because we as small local governments, first of all, we can't adapt that much, that quickly. Alex, did you share with council the at a glance?
Yeah, so you all got some material. It should have been on tweets, public affairs.
There's one little document in there that I was going to talk about real quick, if it's in there. It was well, it was a little piece that I did for Brownsville that I shared with everybody. Anyway, I'll send it back over to Alex. It's okay. What it is it's a one-page document. It's got the city of Brownsville logo in the top left-hand corner. It's got our council member right at the top. And then it starts talking about, hey, 1,811 citizens, 857 units. You know, we've got $56 million worth of assets. That's the water lines, the sewer lines, the buildings, everything. $22 million of that is in critical condition, right? And it starts talking about the unfunded mandates that are calling for resources when we're having a hard time doing these basic functions. And it kind of just gives it real quickly at a glance for our legislators to see what our situation is individually. So Sean Tate, this gentleman works over here in Lebanon. He's got a public affairs office. He's a lobbyist. He has provided us with your packet. He's the gentleman who we'd like to get on board with. We'd like to have him come out. He called us after our council, I think, was the first one when the letter was going to be signed to do it, and it ended up in the Democrat Herald. And so this gentleman cold called me the day after it hit the article. The article hit the Democrat Herald. He said, "Hey, I have a passion for rural Oregon. Can we have a cup of coffee? I've really wanted to expand my business into that manner." I said, "Well, yeah, sure. Let's do that." So we had a cup of coffee in about November. And so after we talked with the 5 cities, we thought, okay, we might bring Mr. Tate in to give us a proposal and take a look at this. And so that proposal in your packet does these few things for us. It educates and trains not just our council members, but our staff members on the legislative process, what the best way is to, get relationships, how to get audience, how to look at the Oregon Legislative Information System. They call it OLIS, how to find the bills, how to comment, how to testify if you want to, all of these different avenues and gears. What he will be able to do is he'll do that. Like, let's say that we have it over in, I don't know, Halsey or Brownsville or wherever we have it. It doesn't really matter where we have it, but he's going to come out. Everybody's going to be invited to come if you can come. And he'll have 2 nights where he comes if we decide to do this, and he'll get us all trained up. He'll have like a 2-hour session. And if somebody can't make it on one night, he'll have it another night so that we can all try to make it. And then what that's going to do is then we're going to be able, Alex and myself and council members, I'm sure that Adina, if you guys decide this, all of you will probably be involved. But I know Adina's been coming to the meetings because she's been at the last couple of Reach 4 meetings because we met there. But it'll allow us to get together and create some priorities around issues that are important to all of us, all of our small communities. It'll also allow us to do more. But let's say we come up with 20 priorities. Maybe Sodaville and Brownsville are in agreement on 12 of the 20. It's okay. We don't have to agree on every single one of those items. But what we're really looking at doing is trying to form a little bit of solidarity so that we can do that. Not only we want to do it regionally, but we want to put this thing statewide. We know that we've got friends all over the state who feel the same way we do, and they feel the same way about the league. And we're hoping to work with the league, but so far that's not really hasn't really panned out. So again, the proposal will forge alliances between our cities. It'll build some consensus. Sean will identify opportunities. We'll also identify opportunities with folks like Alex and myself and a few other folks watching bills really closely. We'll be able to alert each other. We'll be able to get our citizens maybe activated with letter writing campaigns, have some templates, and really start forging those relationships with our folks like Jamie Cave and Cedric Hayden, which I think you guys have the same representatives that we do. And so, it's really cool when, Roger, you've been on the council, like you said, since 81, you give somebody a call at the State House and you tell Jamie K, hey, Senate Bill 592 is a real stinker and this is how it hurts Sodaville. you know, and, or Mayor Lewis, any of the councilors do that. That goes a long way when the electeds do that. I mean, I can call up and they're like, yeah, okay, it's Scott. It's probably, they're not, not going to take it as serious with coming from a staff member. But that's why we think with this, blending the council with the staff, because, the thing that staff knows is all the requirements and the laws around it. And you guys know the vision, right? You guys are the vision of what your community can do and what your citizens can handle, right? So we need to marry those two things. And so that's what it does. And at the end of the day, it's going to strengthen our rural voice. That's what we really feel is going to come out of this opportunity. So this is a little crude, but in this picture here, our small cities, we're the donkey. We're the donkey. And like I said a minute ago, it's carrot and the stick. There's always a money carrot, right? There's always dangling that money carrot to get us going for whatever it is. Well, they've been real heavy on that stick recently. Like I said, that Nurse Ratchet, just kind of honest about stuff instead of really trying to help us and work with us through things, which is really what precipitated this whole thing. I've talked to many state agencies about, hey, you're disenfranchising small communities. We don't even feel like we're being heard. I mean, we're not in any of the committees. And if we are, which I don't think anybody in the region's on any of the committees, but if we are on one of the committees, I was on the park board for the state for a number of years, but you've got Lake Oswego, you've got Portland, you've got Bend, you've got Corvallis, you've got Medford, you've got Brownsville. Okay. So now you've got one guy representing every city under 15,000, and it was me. I was one voice out of like 9. So you know how that went. I mean, I threw a fit about a few things and got a few things slowed down. Yeah. So anyway, it seems like the state of Oregon, it continues to forget that, hey, the people that you keep passing this stuff, they're taxpayers, they're ratepayers. All this is coming back to our citizens. When you do these programs, who do you think's paying for it? It's like Margaret Thatcher said years ago. It's great until you run out of other people's money. It all seems great till that happens. I put a can of vegetable soup on there because that's what I call all of our bureaucratic state agencies: DLCD, DEQ, OHA, DSL, and so on. And what these agencies have been doing is increasing their rule-making authority, where our elected officials don't even really have much of a say. And we're getting these rules and these requirements that, to me, I mean, we're not France. This is not that kind of government, but they keep treating us like a punching bag and a pincushion. And I don't know about you, but I'm tired of being punched and pricked. I just really am. And so, with that said, the great Grecian general Pericles said, just because you do not take an interest in politics doesn't mean politics won't take an interest in you. And so my message tonight is to say, we would really love to have Sodaville and Alex's talents and your talents, all of you. Like I said, when you guys have been to Capitol Day, you've been for a small city. It's amazing what you guys cover. I mean, just hearing you, I can't get somebody to go to the COG right now. So to hear it's just great, because having our voices at those tables to where we can build relationships and alliances is really the only weapon that we have to push back. The power and control of our government, our state government, rests with we the people. This is what the founders did. They put it in our hands. But what we've done is we've abdicated ourselves because we haven't been involved. And so, and I can't remember who said it. I think it was Rousseau or Voltaire. You don't ask for power, you take it. And quite frankly, we asked the league, and I don't know what your take was, Adina, but it said that good little girls and boys. Yes. And so that's why I think it's imperative. I think that is imperative right now. I think we've got a lot of good momentum in the state. I think one of the silver linings, however you feel about the pandemic, we'll go into that, but however you feel about that, that has got a lot of people understanding that government control can go too far, and they're ready to do something about it. Like I said at the beginning of this, I started as a long time ago in Ohio, 1992, January, in this field, and I've had literally tens of thousands of people upset and concerned and complaining. but there's nowhere to go. And so what I want to be able to do with our partnership is to give folks a model that they can put in place, get some training so that we can actually activate our rural voices. Because if we wait for the league to do it for us, we're going to be waiting forever. And to me, it's kind of a critical moment. I feel it's a critical moment in Oregon's history. We either do one of two things. We either decide that we're going to be a statutory city, not the home rule. We're going to abdicate our authority, and we're just going to do everything they tell us and just kiss the ring and bend the knee. And if that's what councils want to do, if that's what my council tells me to do, I'll do it. I won't like it, but I'll do it. So I got a senior in high school and a sophomore in high school. So I will get down there and do it. But until that time, I really want to see what we can do working together collectively, and what kind of difference that we can make for our citizens. You guys are in a unique position. The elected officials are always in a very unique position because the responsibility that you carry, and I don't try to be too esoteric and I'm not trying to be too hyperbolic either, but it really is super special to know that the 5 people on this council represent the 380 souls in this town, and the 7 people in Brownsville represent the 1,800 people of that town. And so for us to have our voice heard, that's a big job. It is a big job. And I just feel like, I feel like this is a time in our history that we can work together and make a difference. So that's my pitch to you guys. I know there's a dollar amount associated with it. And if that dollar amount doesn't work for you guys, we really just want you there. To me, it's not about the money. I mean, Brownsville and Harrisburg took up the lion's share of it. Mr. Tate has told us that, hey, he's doing $1,000 flat rate right now, which is about half his normal rate because he wants to get going. And we were going to sign a 1-year deal. It'll probably be June because I'm going to be going to, I don't know, I might go down as far as Canyonville. I don't know. I'm going to go to Canyonville. I'm going to go to my buddies at Adair Village and Philomath and Tangent and everywhere else where I know people, because I've been around for 17 years in Oregon. So I know a fair amount of folks. And they've all said the same things to me over the last 5, 6, 8 years. And we're going to just start cashing in on those relationships and seeing what kind of push. And he's going to keep that rate. So the more people that we get, the less it's going to be. I mean, it's going to get down to the spot where it's not going to cost you anything, just your time. But, you know, my goal is to have, 30 cities, 30, 40 cities signed on by the end of this year. By the time we get into the next long session, which is, not the next season, will be the short session. What I'm hoping by the time we get to the next long session, we'll be able to bring bills. We won't be reactive, trying to just shield and cover up. We'll actually maybe be able to bring some bills to Jamie Kate and to Cedric Hayden and actually push our agenda a little bit. I mean, really, because right now we're not doing it, and nobody's doing it for us, and nobody's going to do it for us. So anyway, yeah, I'm just available for questions too. That's what I'm going to say. I know you do. I know you do. I'm ready to be grilled like a Whopper. I got some pickles and onions down in my car.
I like it. So my first one, you already, and I don't think you first. My first one is, I was going to ask if we can add more cities to this, and it sounds like you're on that thing. So perhaps the impetus with Eastern Oregon gets from us and go to Idaho. That would be a good group to go and talk with.
Absolutely. My mayor's already on it.
So I have 3 other questions. Anybody want to ask that one? I'll just burn them all out. Okay. And I like you. This has nothing to do with you. I'm never afraid of. Not very popular parties. Do we need to have this if we have not? Because you can do so much of this already.
Well, I think the idea is that you go a much longer way when you have people with you in the building. So I got 2 bills passed for one special district I worked at in 2019, and that's only happened because I went to city council and special district county commission meetings all over Northeast Oregon, built a coalition from scratch for that one purpose. They all signed letters, they all sent testimony saying, please do this. Bills passed. It was great. It would be nice to not have to build a coalition from scratch every time they need something. That's the biggest lesson I learned from them. Is that, yeah, there's a lot that I can do. There's a lot that I need to do just because of who I am, because of things I do in my spare time. But it's always.
That's right.
Yeah, when you have people in the room helping you, your reach goes a much longer way. So, yeah, I am a big part of this puzzle because I've been doing advocacy for a very long time. But I can always do more for other people, and it's kind of like when I want to share. When I walk into a number of legislative offices, we go, please do this, and they'll go, okay, I want to be able to walk in and go, by the way, please do this for Brownsville, please do this for any of the other cities around you if they need it as well. We can always show this.
And Kate, is he teaching the collective us to do this, or is he going to also be up there lobbying for us?
Both. You know, the biggest thing for, you know, I've talked to legislators, I've talked to the league. The best thing, when I talked to Jamie Kate in Austin about this with the mayor, Austin's face and Jamie's face immediately lit up. They were like, oh, Scott, if you're able to get the small cities activated like that, they were so excited because they saw that was really, if they get a call from Mayor Lewis and Mayor Craven and Mayor Duncan down in Harrisburg on the same issue, that's just going to really, like Alex said, it makes us bigger. If we go it alone, they're just going to pick us off. That's what they're going to, that's what the state agencies are great at. Every month they post who's getting fined from DEQ, who's getting fined from OHA, all of these things, just to make sure, OSHA, all that, just make sure you stay in line, right? Yeah. So Alex is absolutely right about that. But the elected officials are so vitally important in this piece, because getting calls from you again makes a major difference, makes much more of a difference than if they get called from guys like Alex and myself.
Yeah, it was pretty important. Like I do hold a political office, and that's something that helps me. Forever. Also, city has this, so the more we can build out, it's
I think that it's just a fact of anytime you get a lot of people in the room on an issue, it always goes to the middle or lower. It never, you never get the best option. It's always about, everybody's sacrificing something to get something. And I think what happened to the league, and I think it's been going on probably good 15 years. I remember the league fought on the Oregon Government Ethics Committee, the Oregon Government Ethics Commission thing, and they lost that. The League of Oregon Cities put together a group of city managers from the state of Oregon. There's about 9 of them. They were probably the top 9 administrators in about 2006 or so. They put them together. It was right before I got to the state. They worked on this for 2 or 3 years, this whole thing with what was wrong with development, right? And they were talking about Senate Bill 100 and urban growth boundaries and how the Department of Land Conservation and Development works. And the city administrators worked with a couple of the mayors through the Mayor's Association, and they laid out, and the state just, get away, go on. And that really started diminishing the power of the league. The league does a good job on certain things, but just as another quick example, there was a bill that Shemaiah Fagan, Secretary of State, put together regarding municipal audits. Now in Brownsville, our municipal audit every year, well, this year costs $32,000, right? All right. So the Government Accounting Standards Board and a whole bunch of other accountancy boards write rules every year that all it does is make that go up, because now the accountants got to go in there and they've got to do to these different standards. Now, mind you, forever in Brownsville, we've had a clean audit. 17 years I've been there, or 16, we've had it, and even before that, we've had clean audits. So now what Shemaiah Fagan wants to do is put another accountancy board from the state. So it's going to go through the state, right? So now that's going to drive up our cost, I don't know, 3 or 4, 5, 6, who knows, $7,000 more, right? So I get on the phone to the league. I call Scotty Winkles. He's one of the lobbyists on general government. I said, hey, what are you doing on this bill? Oh yeah, the league supports that. Why? Well, Scott, he goes, let's go a little bit. I think you need to read the bill. Oh, no. I've read the bill. I understand exactly what the bill is going to do. And if the league is supporting that, I can tell you what it proves to me, that you've never put a municipal budget together and you've never been through a municipal audit process, because there is no way that is good for our small cities. How is paying $7,000 more a year on something going to be better for our cities? Anyway, so those are the kinds of things, Mayor Lewis, to your question, is the league sees it through a certain lens that doesn't really reflect. I don't know what they're doing right now. I really don't know what they're doing. Because some of the things that they're seeing with these bills that they're promoting is not anywhere close to, like I say, rural Oregon. And I don't even put a size on rural Oregon. We were just at a meeting here not long ago, and the city manager from Albany went on a 10-minute rant.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great though. It was great, wasn't it? I know. But his issues, but the issues that he was, talking about, all the small cities in the room could relate to it exactly, because it was perfect. It was on point. But I think what happened, Mayor Lewis, is the bigger and more influential the LOC came, it gravitates toward where they feel like power is. So the bigger cities, when they're on all the committees and when they're in the room making the policy for these bills, and our voices aren't even there, persona non grata.
Like the smallest communities need to put us over there, the LOC.
I don't think that's the move yet. What I'm hoping that we are able to drive toward this, what I'm hoping, now this is a little Pollyanna, is once we get, because by the end of, not this year, but at the end of next year, I'm hoping to have maybe upwards of 100 cities. Once we hit that 80 to 100 city mark, we're going to get what Joe's doing right now. They're going to be looking like, what you talking about, Willis? Then they're going to be calling Alex and myself, and they're going to say, yeah, so your small municipal advocacy coalition, yeah, can we tuck that underneath the LOC?
We already asked that question and you said no, so.
We already asked that question. You said no, because we're going to get to the spot. I feel like I think we're going to have I think we'll have a good groundswell on this, or I wouldn't be spending my time doing it. But I think what's going to happen is the LOC's outlived its purpose for small communities, in my opinion. Now, they do a lot of great things for our cities. Let's be honest. I'm not going to say there's not an intrinsic value to having LOC. They provide some training that's good. They do a lot of good things for our cities. They do. The bills that we're able to cross-reference and get on OLIS and see what they're doing, that's great, because we can go to the league, we can tap on the advocacy tab, and we can see the bill numbers so that we know what's being said. So there are things there that are great. And what I'm hoping, again, is that we can still maximize and leverage our relationship with LOC, but that will actually be heard, and not what Adina said, pat on the head and say, good little boy, good little girl. No, just you be quiet and still. We've got the smarter kids in the room have it handled. Okay. That just makes me want to fight somebody. Sorry.
I think you're right in line. And maybe because of the pandemic, or whatever, people are at a point now where they're researching and they're realizing that needed people have a voice and it needs to be heard. I think the fact, I don't know whether the whole Idaho Oregon thing is going to ever work. West Virginia and Virginia did, so there's possibilities. Yeah, but so but I think that it's a little bit more ripe for that. I think people are trying to fed up. And a big part of Oregon is the rural.
It's work, so that across state down to almost nothing, but southern half the state goes to California, the rest of the eastern half goes to Idaho. There's gonna be a lot of blocks. We got Eugene and Portland, and that's like say like that, once I left the state, that's the state.
Maybe about the size of Rhode Island.
Yeah.
We moved the line to the.
I'm down with that. That's what I could get behind that. Yeah.
I like the idea of it. I'm fresh, I'm still learning all this. I'm definitely outside my comfort zone, but I've been in very political my whole life from outside, I guess. I try to stay educated, but like my first impressions when I saw the LOC, There's a thing about topics I could pull up on MSNBC or Fox News or anything. It was like all big city stuff. And it does, my wife's a counselor, so we counsel some of that stuff. I can kind of understand the homelessness, drug addiction, because she helps with. It's like, kind of get that, but it felt to me like it was another level. Like, how are they gonna help us? And it seems like most government things or anything good intentions, like you said, it grows to the point of doing what's correct or right. And you feed the power, and then all of a sudden it's like you forget of where you came from, and things kind of progress from there. And you know, you're talking about little cities, but Lake Oswego or any one of those in the tri-county area up there are a part of this. They're gonna have it's a different. It's a different culture, different mind state, type of thing, and then it's kind of rambling, but I think you understand.
I do.
It felt weird, you know, and then I tried to embrace it, and I felt some things I didn't quite understand. It was like, it was all the same stuff, you know, which didn't have anything this week of related to the town. So,
Right. I agree. I mean, it felt like a call meeting to me.
yeah.
For subscription, just to subscribe to them. What happens if all these rural cities start pulling their subscription?
Well, I think leaving the LST is a good idea, or the point. The biggest thing we get from LST is membership in CIS, that's their insurance coverage. They do a lot of specialized training that is really helpful. But the thing that's going to make them a little nervous is when people start moving away from them. They're no longer the only city representation down, right? Yeah, that's what they go. They might have rules.
Can we do CIS without them?
It's kind of a common thing to say, like, in order to be in SDIS, the Special District Insurance Services, you have to be in the Special Districts Association we're in. That's just part of their membership rules.
And this is part of the problem too. Okay, this is exactly why they pat us on the head and treat us like they do. It's like, look, you do not have the power. We the people have the power, and they need desperately to be reminded of that. Desperately to be reminded.
Well, that's kind of what I asked Alex about the TDM, whatever that is. But if you just don't do it.
Yep.
Like, they're gonna find us, and then they find us, and that's what happens when we don't pay. Like it's what I'm getting at is like a strong arm thing. It's kind of like this, as you create this coalition of cities.
Yes.
They'll be a little worried
Yes.
at a certain city level, and it's like the same thing. Well, I'm just not gonna comply.
Well, that's
I don't know if you guys have ever not complied. It's a little scary at first.
yep.
And then once they realize that you're not doing back and down, then they're kind of like, oh, how can we work with you to make this happen?
To that point, I'm so glad you brought that up. You didn't bring it up, but you did bring it up, so I'm going to talk about it real quick. That's where part of my council is right now. They're saying, hey, look, advocacy is great, Scott. We love it. We know we have to do it. We're on the right track there. But on some of these issues, that being one of them, TMDL, maybe a couple of others that hit us hard in Brownsville, like the homelessness, because we got camping. There's a whole bunch. Anyway, there's layers, right? Problem. They're telling me, look, we're gonna have to do Martin Luther King Jr. We're gonna have to do Gandhi. We're gonna have to sit out. We're gonna have to, and I agree with that. And that's why I said, when we get to that long session, I mean, I'm hoping we can do it sooner than later, but you and I know kind of the time track this is gonna take. That's what we want to be able to do. But if Brownsville sits out on its own, or Harrisburg sits out on its own, they're gonna, the alphabet soup is gonna eat them alive. For honest, man, right? If we've got a coalition of cities in Baker City and Prineville and Madras and Harrisburg and Brownsville and Sodaville and Halsey and Crestwell and Nehalem and Reedsport. Now you've got 30 cities sitting out. Uh-oh. They're gonna have to start reconsidering their position. Like I said, that's the acronym is SMAC for a reason. You know,
The K is silent.
it's not existing. But you're absolutely right, Joe. I mean, the bottom line is again, like Alex said, we are not trying to pick a fight. We are trying to give our citizens a voice that is along their value line, along our value line with what we're trying to accomplish as small local governments.
Well, the best way, in my opinion, to deal with bullies is just stand up and fight back.
That's kind of the lesson that, just the, like, I agree with you. It's not the fight that you're looking for. It's just a little acknowledgement. Or have some understanding.
Right.
Like in fighting numbers, you're so much better off.
Yeah.
Well, and like what I wish they would do, let's take one issue. Just take one issue. This marijuana issue, the recreational marijuana issue. Now, I know everybody feels different about marijuana, and I'm trying to condemn marijuana, but I'm just using this as an example. So if the state would have said, hey, we're going to legalize recreational marijuana, it passed by the majority that it needed to, and we're going to allow it. We're not going to force any cities to do it. If you as a council want to have recreational marijuana in your town, all you need to do is pass an ordinance, file that ordinance with the Secretary of State's office, and then you all can have businesses within your municipal corporation that allows recreational marijuana. But that's not what they did. They told you had to. We've been in a lawsuit since 2018 that's still not settled yet to this day. We followed every single one of those procedures that the state lays out in the revised statute, and we still got sued, right? So my thing is, if the state would have handled that better and said guided approach and said, oh, here is middle housing. Well, here is homelessness. If your city wants to do homelessness and help with the homelessness, here's some tools that will help you do that. Not requirements, not you're going to get sued, and the state's making us targets for every, wackadoodle nonprofit group that's going to come out there and go after cities that aren't doing what they think they should do. Now we're going to be, now what? Our time, we're not going to be able to do anything like this. Heck, we're not going to be able to make sure we got water. We're going to be defending ourselves against frivolous lawsuits because the state's opened us up to this. Enough, right? That's kind of, I'm sorry, I get.
Yeah, no, I can feel your passion.
Well,
What's the economic guy? But it was like, we enact policies that are good, but you never ask the question of like, what's the result of said policy?
Milton
Friedman's the pros and cons of things, like it sounds really good and it's going to be good, but then once you do it, like nothing good has come from it. Right. It's like, and then what?
Right.
Like, we're going to get so much money to help homelessness, but then
what?
We get them into a home so they can get.
Then what?
Then, like, what point? We agreed to all these environmental things for this TDL stuff, but then what do you do?
Right.
We can't even, we don't even have any money to do what we need to do, and then to enlist.
6 weeks ago, the city of Sweet Home got those pods going, right? With the little the little nonprofit. Okay. They filled them up immediately. Right. Because if the Lynn County deputy found somebody over in Lacombe, found somebody over here around Sweet Home or Sodaville or outskirts of Brownsville, where'd they take them?
Straight to there.
Right. If you build it, they will come. I don't know how movies Costner's got to make, but the bottom line is we're creating more of a problem. What happened with the homelessness issue is there was a court case, Martin versus Boise. And what our state did, and California and Washington and Colorado, is they codified that court case that could yet be overturned. That's why all the 10 cities blew up during the pandemic. They would have blown up, pandemic or not, because the policy changed. Then we passed Measure 110 in our state, which basically,
Not even a slap.
not even, that's what I mean. I'm missing. Right? You don't even have to pay the $100 fine. And now people are in court. I mean, our judge, she's over here in Lebanon, Jessica Meyer. She was just in the commissioner's office. I'm on record. Anyway, just saying, look, these people are in there. They don't respect me. They don't respect the court. They're not doing anything that they're required to do. So I think that everybody wants to help homeless people. But one of the big things about homelessness is the addiction.
Yeah.
And when we have allowed, like I said, we're putting the fuel source right next to the fire, how can we really truly help
They
it?
don't prosecute. The guy that ran the stop sign out here, my wife hit it broadside. She got killed in the car. That guy had 7 empty vials of marijuana in his car, had marijuana leaves all over the seat, but 2 used marijuana pipes in it. But marijuana is legal, so this community wouldn't prosecute. But if you would have had an empty beer can in it, 5 years old, they would have went to jail automatically. But legal, it's marijuana, it's legal, we don't want to touch that, because we might get sued by the marijuana league.
And that's why we need to do our own bills. This is why. This is why.
We need to enact our own policy.
I'm a little worried about the LOC's vitality. Their biggest big thing this term is supposed to be figuring out homelessness. And they put together that homelessness packages that we as a city supported. We sent in a letter of support. We were one of only 10 cities that ended up submitting support letters, and only 2 mayors out of the whole mayors association testified during that hearing. That's not a sign that they've got their act together when it comes to their legislative priorities.
And let me add on that, Alex, if I can, because they called me and they got an earful. Because it was back in, I think September, October, maybe November of last year. The Oregon Mayors Association had 27 cities signed on, the part of what you're talking about, signed on to this letter. And the big plan was they were going to go hat in hand to the state legislature and say, can I have some more porridge? Right? That's what they were going to do. They were going to ask for money for homelessness, and every city was going to get the baseline of $50,000. And then based on your population, you were going to get something over that. By the time that thing got to the legislature, 120 cities plus 127, 123, I can't remember the exact number, had signed on to that letter. And guess what the state legislature told them? Go fly a kite, Ray. That's exactly right. See it. And like Alex said, then they got behind it and only a few people, because you sent me the email.
Yeah, I think by the time the meeting had started, Sodaville was one of only 6. Like, I think maybe during a little after 4 more of them sent in letters of support, but we were one of only 10 cities statewide that got involved with this.
Yeah.
After it being such a big thing, the league couldn't get its act together.
Right.
Well, I mean, we tried talking to the league and they obviously didn't listen.
Yeah, I don't think that, I wasn't going into that meeting, Adina, with too much. I mean, I thought it was great that we were coming together and raising the concern. I thought they might take at least one of our suggestions. I thought maybe when we went to those regional meetings that they would start lacing that with more advocacy driven pieces and start helping us, but they haven't. And at the Capitol Day, I was out in the hallway and was told by the head lobbyist, they said, I really think that you need to be, Scott, you need to be on the committee, because in September, October of this year, the league is going to change their priorities on what they see is how they do lobbying. When that happens, to Mayor Lewis's point, that's all going to go away from rural values. Even if we get Hillary, myself, you, Ginger, all the loudmouths in the room, and we start screaming, we're still probably going to lose that fight, and then the league will be gone. And I'm hoping that we can make a difference with our grassroots effort. And like I said, that's why I came tonight and wanted to talk with you.
It's encouraging. When I first heard of this, I thought, not to be a negative Ness, but 5 cities, whoop-de-doo.
Mhm.
They're not going to listen to 5 cities
Mhm.
that have a total population of probably less than Albany, or less, definitely less than Salem or Portland. But if we can get a lot of cities, and I think there's a lot of cities right for this, I think we'll have a bigger voice and a possibility.
Yeah, I spoke with Canyonville on Monday, and the lady down there, my mayor, called their mayor, and she said, oh, we've got city managers and administrators all over the place down here, just frustrated, ready to wring in their hands, wanting to do something. So I told him, I sent her this presentation. It was your presentation. I said, look at that. Give me a call you back on Friday. So I'm going to give her a call on Friday, and I'll probably end up heading down to that section of the state and saying, hey, this is what we want to do. Are you in? And just start driving the car across the mountain, because I know my mayor and Bobby Duncan, the mayor of Harrisburg, they've already called some folks. They've been in concert with Baker City during the pandemic and some of the things that those folks have done. And so, yeah, we definitely want to grow this thing to where it's all of our rural voices. So like Ray said, strength in numbers. I mean, if we're all in it together and we get that solidarity moving, then we're bigger than we are, and then we're going to start turning some heads. So
The thing you need to accomplish is you need to get all the little cities, so that you take the population from all the little cities to compare to what the big cities are.
Yeah.
So the little Waterloo, Crabtree,
You know, I don't know that Crabtree even has a city council. It goes up, but it's a city.
Mhm.
You need support from all the little communities who get to fight the big ones.
That's right. Like our 5 cities is almost the size of Lebanon. Right? But hey, that's a good start.
These are the first on their own.
Well, it's not only that, it's like, just the generic, like just the city alone, regardless of the populations, like it's cities, you know, like
Right.
versus like one city with like, 300,000 people. We've got 10, sure, we might be at 200,000, but
Right.
that's be a big voice. I like what I'm hearing.
It's encouraging.
Yeah.
You look at it, you've got Marcola, and you've got Crabtree, and you need to draw every one of these little communities into this coalition to make this happen.
I agree with you.
So
It's important.
Real quick on this, Mr. Tate, you said it 1,000, what's the cost? Would you just roll that at another time? Just a rough idea. You said 1,000 or $1,000 a month.
Yeah. $75 a month was what we just came up with it based on
Yeah, so
population.
65 times 12, I mean, that's
Right.
basically $1,300.
yeah, but you could spread that over. If he represented, 100 different communities, it'd drive the price down to damn near nothing.
That's right.
75 a month,
Yeah.
that's no more than a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is you need to get everybody into this coalition and drive the dollar.
That's what I'm gonna try to do. Like Ray's saying, I'm hoping to get this up to about 30 to where Sodaville's cost is gonna be negligible. And quite frankly, when I have a Tina in the meeting, any of you guys in the meeting, it's so good because you guys just speak your mind. You do. You speak your mind. Well, you speak your mind and it's truthful. It's coming from the heart and it carries a ton of weight. And Alex is great. And you guys have done a really good job. And he didn't pay me to say this. I'm not a paid spokesman of the Alex and Dad campaign, but that's right. He's got other things, but no, it's been great to have him as part of it too. And we're just excited to try to get it off the ground. And to Ray's point, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get this thing going to where, Brownsville stepped up. We're going to pay like, I think $350 or $325 or whatever it is. And if you guys can only decide you can only do 50, it's not going to even start till June. By June, I might have 30 cities and it might not be anything. It might be $10. It might not be anything.
Let's hope you have a few cities.
Let's hope I do. Let's hope I do better than 30 by the end of it. I know that budget season's coming up. And I think I can have 30 or 40 by the end of June, so that when we get into this summer, we'll be able to start training with Mr. Tate and start, building the process and, start really sinking our teeth into figuring out how we're going to make a difference together. So.
I don't think the big cities changed a lot since I've been on this expensive one. They were just starting in about that time, I think,
Yeah.
starting before that.
That's right.
And it's really changed from what they were doing for us then and what they're doing for us now. They're doing to us now, I should say.
See, that's it. They used to be doing it for us. Now they're doing it to us.
Yeah.
That's well said. I'm going to borrow that. And I use your name. I use that. Roger Perry said down. So that's what he said. No, I do that all the time. I do that all the time.
Like I said, I've been on a long time. I've seen them when they first started.
Yeah. That's right. But see, it's like CIS. It's like CIS. And that's why I just Lauren Williams from an insurance agency came into my office just yesterday. And she's wanting to get our business, wanting us to break away from CIS. I said, hey, it's EBS Trust. There's some things I can do. There's some things I cannot do. I've looked at your rates. Your rates are similar to theirs. If you were really doing a 25 to 30% cheaper, I could probably come with you. But that was my point to her, Roger, was, before CIS was there, they were helpful. You call them on the phone, risk management issue. They'd give you some things. They'd help you through it. Now with cybersecurity and whatever else they come out with, they send you a 30-page, it was 52 pages is what it was, the cybersecurity policy. I took it down to about 30 because we don't do some of that. But you must do this. It's not, you shall do this. You must do this. Or you can't get covered. Well, how's that any different than the alphabet soup? I mean, how's that any different?
And we need to worry about fish, right?
Right.
We do, for TMDL, we have to worry about fictitious fish in our non-existent bodies of water.
Well, how you guys like that joke? There's a stream right way there.
Well, that's the city limits.
I know, but if you're talking about runoff from the city, it runs down the hill.
Well, there's
Right down.
there's no fish in that.
How do you know?
There's no fish. Yes, there is. There's a fish in that? Yes. How
Did you
many?
put it?
I mean,
I'm just, you know, I get those jokes, you know, but it's like, you know, I'm
well, I think the thing that's happening right now too is I just saw an article that I'm alarmed about, was they now reauthorize waters of the United States. They're trying to push that. It was an Obama era piece. And that means that the United States would own every ditch and waterway. I don't know if you know that the Brownsville Road going over from between Lebanon and Brownsville, the Brownsville Road washed out of here about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. We had some flood come up. It took them 3 years to get the permits to fix the bridge.
Well, the state owns all the water. I mean, there's a greenhouse here outside town here. The guy was using runoff off there to fill water's garbage. They come in and says, either turn that out or we'll tear your whole business down.
Yeah, see, that's,
Yeah.
and there you go.
The state
That's
owns the
another
water.
example.
You let it come out of the ground. If the lateral pumper hits the ground, to make sure it doesn't run off and cause damage. So
Yeah,
if it's their water, why don't they take the runoff to take care of the damage?
That's it.
and they want the city to be responsible for that runoff. It's here.
Yeah.
It's their water running through our ditches and they want us to be responsible.
That's it, right?
So,
That's it. How's that add up?
so with no help from them.
Right.
So it's our responsibility for their water.
Well, just like in Brownsville, you know, we've got that little 26-acre park, well, it's not little, 26-acre park in Brownsville. And they're coming down on us on the TMDL, but the Tidbit Mountains, where the Calapooya starts, is 44 miles. So 44 miles to the Brownsville. So we're, for the 44 miles up there, we're paying for everything else? No.
everything
Anyway,
upstream, you have to pay for it.
I know. Besides, this government leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And then you gotta need a drink of water here in a minute. So anyway, but I appreciate you guys listening. Are there any, you guys have any other questions or anything?
You did a very good description.
All right, well,
Yeah, the government's pretty stupid in some of the things.
yeah, I just think, I
It
think it's time that, you know, like you said, I think the time is right to get some self-correction.
Depends on who you talk to, you know. I was with this, Shrewsbury Renaissance Fair over Renaissance Kings Valley.
Hmm,
He wanted to cross a ditch. About 25 feet up the hill, it's coming out of spring, there's gonna trickle run through there. But he's only border with Polk County, Grant County, forest land and agricultural land, you had agriculture, Forest Service, this, that, and everything else, to try and figure out how to cross this metal type ditch. There's as wide as this table, about 5 feet deep, and it took a water about this wide, this deep in it. That was some of the spotting river. So finally, after 7 years of fighting to get across it, this is what Renaissance Fair. We got a guy, an engineer that said he could help us do this. So all of a sudden, they heard, the US Corps of Engineers heard about it. So they decided they want to be involved in it too, so that makes 6 agencies. The US Corps of Engineers walked out and looked at it, said, this is a damn ditch, just throw a culvert in it, bury it, call it done. Boom, it was done.
Somebody was some practice.
common sense, yeah,
It's all an accountability thing.
it is.
Wants to be accountable, so we'll pass it on to there, or we got an agency for that, or that's outside my scope, or
Probably
You know,
all those agencies that got their hands on it expect you to pat them up.
Yeah,
it's like what's that Reagan quote, 5 famous words, I'm here from the government, and I'm here to help.
yeah, the 9 scariest words in the history of the world are, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. Amen, that is truth. I know.
Well, I hope to see that you get 100 cities on your coalition.
Thank you, Ray. That's what we're hoping for.
There's a lot of little communities,
We're gonna push real strong for
a
that.
lot of little communities that are in this state that should jump on board with this thing because they're, you're just being ignored.
They vote, they pay taxes.
They do.
Yeah.
They
I
do.
always make jokes.
They do.
Little birds, anyway, and I remember when the salt weapon thing happened, and it's the Harney County judge shutting it down. And all the people up north going, I can't believe this little small town judge is putting a stop to stuff. Well, yeah, that's how it works.
That's the word, yeah.
It's called rule.
Yeah.
The actual people that make a difference.
That's right. Okay. I'm done. I'm fired. I'm gonna go watch Netflix to midnight.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you having me. It's good to see you. Good to see everybody. Yeah, absolutely. All right. It's good to see you again. All right, we'll see you. Thank you for putting me up front. My wife appreciates it.
New business.
Yeah.
Now we go back to city's quarterly report.
Yep. Okay. No, we just resumed it. A couple of updates for you. So the accountant had a bit of a scheduling issue. So I got the checking account reconciliation to you all in time. The LGIP reconciliation wasn't completed until yesterday, but a copy of that was put on all of your spots before the meeting. One thing I realized I forgot to put in here was an LGIP transfer resolution. I like to do that every few months to make sure the money we're getting gets transferred over appropriately. And because we have the LGIP statement for this month, you all can go back and look at the numbers yourselves for the last 2 months to make sure that we are just transferring the last 2 months of LGIP revenue into this fund. Let's see. So next up, yes, what was our question? Sorry. Oh, sorry, I thought I saw a question. Okay. There we go. All right, so we submitted a capital construction request to the Office of Representative Jamie Kate for matching funds that would work in concert with the IFA loan to convert the well. Once that all gets figured out, the state's IFA loan is about 500,000, and we need to come up with 300,000 for ourselves. And Rep Jamie Kate's office is working on that. And because it's water related specifically, they're able to put it higher up on the priority list for her district. So there's no guarantees, but it's a good chance we're going to get some matching funds to work on that. I did make some progress trying to figure out what exactly the state wants from us on the engineering report. I found one that they approved in 2017. And that's when the IFA loan first came into the fold. They basically just need somebody to do that, but updated for current costs. So I have exactly the document that any interested engineer is to look at to see, oh, this is what you want me to do. Yeah, I can do that. The state is working on a few leads for us. At their advice, I started working with Oregon Health Authority to get some better understanding of whether we are able to use the well. The thing that's been a problem so far is finding the well log ID. I think Big Valley Pump didn't have it. Nugent Drilling didn't have it. It's possible the well is old enough that there wasn't a well log instituted at the time. I think GSI might be like the only person that has it. Nugent believes they're the only ones.
So Nugent told me when I asked him about mine, he said he couldn't find anything, but that was before they were listed by like section numbers or whatever, and I didn't have that. He didn't have that. Could you find it from that, or did he say that wasn't an option?
Usually there's a tag on the well cap and there is no tag. And that's 79.
It was shortly after we did Sodaville.
Yeah, like 1979.
Some last week and some right now. Because we had our well changed 6, 7 times or so there.
Yeah,
I understand. Yeah.
so
What do you mean by well log? What is it there?
it's an ID number, a well log number. The state has a list of all the wells that have been registered. So their hope is that this one has been registered in the past. And once they can find its register number, a lot of information they need.
One of the things about the city in that time zone is we didn't go by county building codes and that kind of stuff.
No.
Because when I built my shop in, down there, I went over to Philip and it felt like my big building down there. I went up right for Mark, he says, what's your address? I give the address. Where's that out? Yes, I said it was over. He said, tell my head man up. He's going to talk to me, see what he wants to do. So we have nothing else. There's one less county involvement there.
Ray, would you be any people you would have from way before?
Drilled it. So that's not all I can do. And all the people are gone.
The businesses?
Yeah. They're totally gone.
Eugene believes that GSI might have the number. If the number exists, they probably would have it. Otherwise, what I have to do next to tell OHA, actually, it's so old, it's not even in your system. So
It was, yeah, and it was developed before there was a criteria for being in your system.
there you go.
Is that a good thing? Yeah.
Well, if it was in their system, it'd be a lot easier for them to help us get to work on the conversion process. As OHA does have to sign off on that. But if there's no well, then there's, I think the process becomes a lot bigger. It's the well that keeps on drilling. Yeah, but that was a good sign to me that I actually have in hand an engineering report that the state would find acceptable. They just need updated numbers.
And can any engineer go out and cost that out if they already have basically the template? I mean, anybody? Do you think anything?
Well, an engineer is qualified to do that. I could.
By these statistics template requirement.
Well, I think the engineers would probably kind of filter themselves out. If somebody who does solely like residential construction looked at the report, if they understand and go, yeah, I can figure that out, great. They look at that and go, oh, sorry, that's way outside of my wheelhouse. That might be kind of what happens. But yeah, I'm open to having anybody look at it and see if they think they can give us a shot. We've all got all this money lying around waiting to give to them, so. And that's no joke. I mean, they're gonna get paid. No.
Already shot the question, I just wanted to know what type of,
Okay.
like, what it is, because there's so many.
Yeah, I can email you a copy if you want to show it to your friend. There we go. What else? I think one of the things Nugent told me that was interesting today, I spoke to TJ at Nugent Drilling. He was talking about at the time the way the data was worked oddly on a certain side is that we all know how much water comes out of the well. It's like 20 to 30 gallons per minute. It's kind of the standard that's coming out of there. And the city public works director at the time said, yeah, that's all we need. But somebody, I think from the city, told them, we need you to sign a letter saying this will do 100 gallons per minute, which is way more. He didn't say who it was. But he said that was kind of the hang. It's like, there's not that much and you don't need it, so.
Didn't you say the thing was capable of, producing 55,000 gallons a day?
Yeah, I mean, we just got an engineering report a few months ago and it's more than suitable for our needs, so it's fine. We just need an updated cost estimate unless they can give us money.
So in other words, you need to know the well. Yeah, when it was developed and, everything had happened, when it just put together the well itself. Yeah. And then what is production capability?
Yeah. Well, we know the production capabilities and we got tests that say everything that'll do. All the tests.
Wasn't that water jet at one point in time to the water line?
Yeah, it's been tested a few times. So it's good to go. The only thing is they're probably mistake bag. Mistake is also doing some research on Business Oregon. They're poking some people to see if they can find somebody interested in helping us with the project as well. Please give it to your friend now because I still want to cast as wide a net as possible to see who can actually get that done. So
we would not expect that engineer to be the one actually doing it necessarily.
You don't know.
Just someone to say, here's what it cost, here's today's numbers.
yeah, a qualified engineering firm ultimately would, anybody who's licensed as an engineer by the state of Oregon, look at that and go, yeah, this will work. That would be the hope. Yeah.
We have to have a different engineer the piping and everything like that.
Well, I guess ultimately what the state's looking for right now is somebody to do an updated cost assessment for the project. And that's where we go after that, I think is different. What they're ultimately looking right now is just the cost assessment rather than the entirety of the thing. So afterwards, the IFA loan if we get it, unlocks a lot of money that we can use to get the much bigger gigantic plan that we're actually going to be used to build.
But it's still an engineer that's gonna sign his name to the bottom of the, the quote.
Yeah,
He's gotta know what he's doing, and he's gonna have to know exactly, in your case, what piping is gonna cost and what it's gonna cost to, send the water, where you're gonna send it.
Or where it's even gonna go.
Right, exactly. So you got a lot of open-ended questions that your engineer is gonna need answers to.
Yep.
It's kind of a catch-22 situation.
All that though, then, I mean, the first engineer came out and said, to get the pipes, to get the water, to make this well work, we would need XYZ. And are we not asking for XYZ cost 5 years ago, facetiously, $500 now? How much does it cost now? Is that not what they're asking? They're not asking to engineer it. They're asking
Yeah.
today's dollars.
they're looking for an updated cost assessment.
Well, it's like two different things we're talking about right here. One's the infrastructure, which you need to know what roads the pipes are gonna go down, and then the other one is just kind of, it's like, how are you supposed to do a cost evaluation if you don't know where the stuff's gonna be? So it's almost like you gotta have your blueprint drawn before you can.
But didn't they already do the
But-
cost analysis
Well, that's
before
what
with
he's-
that information?
Like cost analysis was done in 2017.
No, well, she's saying with that information, so they should have a hypothetical.
Which way we gotta go with the pipes,
You
no
know,
much down, that.
Yeah.
we have that already.
Yeah, there's maps and everything of where stuff's gonna go. So,
So this is just making it today's dollars.
Right.
yeah,
Just bringing it up.
Okay, so
yep.
Big difference than.
Yeah,
okay,
because
yeah,
it's
not-
information that we had 45 seconds ago.
Yeah.
Not different than VHS.
Yes.
So I think that's like two different types of engineers.
Mhm.
One that works with numbers and one that's actually designing the setup.
Yeah,
Well, actually, you should be able to take that cost analysis from those many years ago and just reassess it in today's dollars.
That's why I'm
Yeah.
thinking perhaps an engineer who isn't going to do it, and if, as long as he's got the engineer behind him and
Well,
can go and find the dollar amount for today.
but would you even need an engineer?
Sounds like we do though, don't we? We have to have an engineer do the cost analysis.
Yeah.
Why, I don't know.
That's just weird.
yeah,
Your engineer is gonna pass it down to somebody that's going to look up the cost of all that stuff.
But it's gonna have engineer on it.
Okay.
That's why I kind of would think, what engineers don't want to do that, really, that's kind of, maybe that's why we're not getting anybody, because that's not a big money maker. Once we get the money opened, then I bet you we have more.
oh yeah, then everybody's gonna want.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just my thought.
There's so many different types of engineers.
Well, I just need to know the correct words. The guy, he's like McCain, draws buildings and
Yeah,
stuff. He's a designer. So I don't know, like, yeah, you need more like a mechanical engineer. I don't know if you
Yeah, I'm sure you don't need it.
And so what you have on your.
get Misunderstanding what the correct
So,
words to ask.
this was done by Keller Associates in 2017. So water system emergency expansion. There's graphs and
it's-
information. There's a document as well that has like maps and stuff in it. They came out with $917,000 for the initial project that time.
Too bad you couldn't just do, the price of inflation is factoring everything times
Yeah,
0.37 or whatever.
Is Keller still in business?
Yeah. yeah, I'm trying to get a hold of them. It's been a little difficult so far. I know like the guy who wrote it is still there.
But not willing to return your calls. Huh?
That's so far. I need to call him again.
Well, maybe you need to email him because maybe he doesn't like to talk on the phone. It seems like that's the way everybody's getting nowadays.
That's true.
Why'd you call me? Why'd you just send a text?
There's a lot of truth to it.
Or, we still have this history we're trying to overcome as a city from previous people.
He could have got scrubbed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thinking too.
So,
Well, at least we have a blueprint.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's the best thing I've found so far is the blueprint. Like it's not, we don't have to start from scratch. We can just give them this and go, okay, update it. And then,
Just need today's for the phrase.
yeah. Let's see. We talked about, the next bit already about, we were one of only a few cities to submit testimony for the Mayor's Association homelessness proposal. So, great. We gave it a shot, and the LOC just did not rally anybody.
It's such a top priority and I didn't want to try to squeeze in easy 50 grams.
Yeah, right.
Like all of those
That's because they want to do it for the houses and they little tuck sheds that they're building.
Yeah.
Well, basically, they only want to give it to the people that they want to give it to.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the people aren't facing anything there, so they keep track of it.
Excellent.
Habitat for Humanity is still building a home up on Ridge Street, and I guess people are getting mad about that. So, hopefully nobody does anything stupid.
I like the verbiage there, still building a home, but yeah.
Well, it doesn't come overnight. Yeah, I just.
People getting upset.
Well, like there's one guy who's got a trailer that he's always used that lot to turn his truck around, and he can't do that anymore, and he's mad. He never had permission to use that lot to turn his truck around, but now that he can't, he's not very happy. Yeah.
Well, then maybe he should vote.
And the neighbor right beside it, he got mad at the city when he sold a lot to, when he sold a lot to them, because he said, we should have sold it to me. Well, we had no idea he wanted to buy it in the first place, and it wasn't ready for sale until we needed to do the trade.
Yeah. I guess a Habitat representative spoke to one of our counselors and said, one of the lots that they were traded isn't buildable after all, so we're gonna need to come up with, something else to give them.
And he said that I was the
Yeah.
person, and the contractor, the main foreman guy, Mike, I think, said, oh, those two lots down on whatever that street is.
Yeah.
He goes, I don't think one of them can handle a septic. So if it can't handle septic, it's not buildable. And so our deal was 3 buildable lots. You're gonna have to find us something else. And I said, where and how? And he goes, well, I mean, he wasn't, you're gonna have to, you pay me, and it may not. So he left it a little bit gray, but I didn't like it.
I didn't know we traded 3 lots. I thought it was just the two lots, one lot here and one above.
He said 3, and I don't know.
I don't know. I checked that out because I thought it was only trading 2 lots for the 3 because one of the lots we got is not buildable. It's right off this road straight to the ground.
I just think we should really look at all the,
Yes.
that paperwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that.
And I did bring the blueprints. Because I want to know how big the house is that they're putting up there. So he gave me a set of blueprints. If anybody would like to look at them. I would like to take them back because I feel responsible. So
Fun note, Comcast installed a Wi-Fi hotspot in the park,
Oh, sweet.
so we can watch Netflix all over Wi-Fi in the park rather than our data plan
Over there and just.
over there. That's great. Yeah, they actually broke the internet in the city installing it, but it's fixed. So, yeah. Yeah, no, the city's internet was out for a bit while they were installing it, and then whatever happened, I guess, maybe coincidentally, maybe related to that, broke our router. So, we got a new one.
How long ago was this?
Maybe late last month, beginning of this month.
I was wondering, because, I was at my mother-in-law's, she lost her satellite, her cell phones, internet.
Yeah,
company in people and they cut
yeah.
everything.
Valentine's Day.
The cable stopped satellite TV.
Well, it didn't stop satellite. I think she might have just not figured that out, but everybody was on their phones at the same time. And
Crashed the phone.
that crashed the phone system, so.
Because I was over at her house, and the TV went dead, my cell phone wouldn't work, and nothing over there. So I thought my
Yeah.
cell phone was.
So you could go to Walmart and buy anything you need.
Yeah, the internet, so you couldn't use your credit card to buy anything, yeah.
That was. I was wondering when the rest of it started landing.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, pardon me.
Yeah, I never found out the news about it, so that would say.
Yeah. Yeah, it was over like Albany or something like that. Somebody, or that's it, you know, on that side, somebody did something and it screwed up the internet for
Fiber optic cable.
yeah. Something I just got a letter about is CPI, I guess, is going to start running fiber optic on all of its electric lines through town. Because of a state law that was passed that allowed them to do that. So I talked to them, or I'm in conversation with them to figure out, okay, how does that impact our franchise agreement? Because it's for electricity, not for internet. And I guess what they're saying is that the actual internet provider is the one we would get a franchise agreement with, so maybe more money. We'll see, that'd be nice. I don't want people just laying cable around and not giving us money.
I know.
That's
Well, isn't consumers power basically, let's say, in bed with peak internet?
that's one, peak internet is the one, so,
Okay.
yeah, so the franchise agreement that we would get would be with peak internet.
Right.
So there is a separate item to look at cameras for the park. We'll go ahead and move on though. Public Works update, JD is not here, but he's provided some information for you, so. Loss is still pretty small, so everything's working the way it should.
It looks like that loss is the, pretty much those 2 weeks. If I'm looking at the difference, it's like 10,000.
Yeah.
Cool.
Pardon me, so we've already done 10A. So the next item would be 10B, so. I know the council held an executive session last week to talk about performance reviews and changes to employee compensation. So the council will often reach a consensus during a meeting, but ultimately there has to be a public vote. So that would be the opportunity to actually formally say, okay, here's what we're gonna do. So I wasn't at the meeting, so somebody's gonna tell me what you voted on, or what you want to vote on this time.
So I think we decided 8% on JD and so
Alrighty. That's good. So we'll just have to do a motion for each position's percentage, and that's written down in there. Or you say, I move to change the city, I move to increase the city recorder's salary by 8.7%. Yes, yeah, you want to do that as well.
we can go into effect last pay or for this payday or for the upcoming.
This month's for
Well, our most recent check has been written, and that's for tonight, so a new pay period has started, so you'd say effective the current pay period, which would mean the next check we get.
I move to change the city over salary 8.7%. Effective next,
Effective the current pay period.
effective the current pay period. For 1. April 1st, 2022.
So the pay period's like in the middle to the middle. So we just say the current pay period, it'll be.
The current pay period. Say fine. Okay.
Who was the second? Sorry, I'm still writing the motion. Roger, okay.
I move to increase Public Works Director salary 8.8% effective current.
All right, that takes care of that. I know the mayor still has performance reviews he is writing. Those will be forthcoming. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next item is 10C, contract review board. You just bang your gavel and say the contract review board's in session. Perfect. Councilors, we have a contract with our auditor that needs to go up for renewal. This is something I wish they had brought to our attention sooner. It's one of those things in a city where there was more people working on, they would have kind of figured it out a little earlier, but they kind of waited until this month to go, oh, by the way, your 5-year contract is up. I don't have a 5-year contract on file because, well, we all know the answer. So they said you can renew it for 1 year. And at kind of like this point in time, that's really the only option we have, is just to do a 1-year renewal. Otherwise, we have to go through the RFP process. And we might not be able to even get that in time to budget correctly. So it's steep. They're asking for a 41% increase in their annual audit fee. They said that they've tried to avoid casting off operations cost increases to their smaller city clients, but they have not been able to do that any longer. So basically every small city they've been auditing is getting a big bump this year.
And if I recall, when that gentleman came, he basically said that, or was it the lady,
That was him.
that there's not many people doing this anymore. So
Yeah.
can we look around if we go through the year and see if there's any potential?
Yeah, I would definitely do that for next year, knowing that this is just a 1-year contract. I would go there. The state does recommend you look every 5 years to find a different auditor. I know it keeps you getting too familiar with the people who are watching over the in-house, right?
We've tried to do that in the past. We also had different administration in the past.
Yeah,
I'll suddenly cut the gap a little bit. I think it's funny that when she was here, both of them actually said it, that yeah, unfortunately, there's not a lot of people to do it, so now we have more work. They have more work, which means they're making more money, but they still have to raise the rates due to.
Because there's nobody else doing it, so there's no competition.
Yeah.
The market will bear.
I get it, man, I'm capitalist, but it just amazes me that now they know that they're cornering the market. And they couldn't just do like 1,000 to them, like bump it 41%. Maybe that is, it's like, I've done it a couple times, you'll quote a job because you don't want to do it, they walk away because you are so busy or full.
But they have us, use the term I want to turn, they have us because we don't have enough time to go out and
yeah.
find anyone else.
It's amazing. And how long, if we were to look, I mean, there's no, you have to put it out to bid.
Yeah.
No, that's not the question I'm asking. It's like,
Yeah.
there's not even enough time to look because they didn't give you.
They would have time to get
Not really.
that is the problem one time.
Yeah, I mean, if
Well, they already have that problem.
like they filled up their end of the bargain, their contract said 5 years and this is when it's up. So I'm like, it's more the problem that the last few city administrators weren't aware, or at least didn't. Yeah, the last one, the previous long-term city administrator who was there for 10 years would have been there to negotiate this contract, and there wasn't a note left in anywhere going, oh, by the way, in 2023 it's up. That's the kind of thing you need to leave behind for somebody, and that wasn't. So,
The gift that keeps giving.
yeah.
I would say if we had more time, it would be lovely to set it out to bid. I'm not going to be the question.
Yeah,
So,
I'm gonna need to write this into the budget soon. If somebody, it's just, yeah. I know some great lobby firms in Northeast, at audit. Not there tonight. I know some great audit firms in Northeast Oregon that would do a really good job with this. I don't know if they want to audit anybody in the valley. So next year we'll have some fun seeing that.
Well, pretty much have to go with me, at least for a year.
Basically.
So I make a motion, we accept the quote to whatever comes in last list for another year, the contract. We have to stay on it.
My second.
it'd be really nice to do a letter to them, just, we realize that part of this is our responsibility, but it would be really nice, what we've been through, not to give them a little bit more of the warning. Well, it's business, they didn't have to do it.
So there's an updated agenda that everybody got. It was in your spot before you came in. It notes that there was an additional item added there, and that is a resolution 2303 to transfer funds from the LGIP account into the bank account. So that reflects all the state investment pool funds we received in the last 2 months would be transferred into our checking account, and it works out to $8,740.77. The amounts do change time to time. There are different funding sources that come at different points in the year. I think like the biggest one we've done so far this year is 15,000 because it was just after our annual $8,000 worth of property taxes came in. Yes, you'll need to close the contract review board, Mr. Mayor. My bad. No, yeah, ordinances we'd have to hammer in, but not resolutions. Okay.
I guess I'll make a motion, we adopt resolution 23. Be a transfer to transfer monies from our food account to our checking account so that we can use it.
Yeah. All right, last up, there should be some quotes in there from, I looked at Ring cameras as an opportunity for us to get some easy to use security cameras installed.
Need some time that no one's got to reach up there and knock it out or have a pen over.
Yeah, right. So there are a few things we can look at. There are a few different solutions. They have one that's like wired in, so like they would fit into a light fixture, that kind of thing. And there are ones that have a power cord on them that you run.
They also have solar. We have 3 solars at my house.
There you
And
go.
water. We floodlights.
Does the solar last time?
Yep.
We have battery operated ones at the shop. The battery is supposed to last about 2.
These look like the kind of range we'd be looking at, a little over 200, 250 kind of dollars a piece for a camera that we would end up getting. So I just want to make sure you all had a chance to look at that. JD is probably going to be the really guy who gets this looked at and done.
So where are we thinking of putting them, or is it just one?
I had a few ideas. The pole right there that shines the light on the flagpole. Yeah, that. There's already AC outlets there, so we could put one really high up and then run the cord down, install that. That's where the lights up there plug into an AC outlet. The other one is I would look at possibly taking out one of the lights in the light fixtures at the bathrooms at the park, and then putting this, because these have floodlights on them too. So rather than having just a light that comes on when you walk up, there's a light with a camera.
That the still sound like they're both accessible, because they just think around that side and the thing down the bottom of the temple, and it's done.
Yeah, well, that's why JD would probably be the guy who makes this decision.
So are these Ring cameras?
They're Ring cameras.
So
yeah.
on the Ring cameras, and you've had these for probably 10 or 15 years here, and before, you have to have a subscription to be able to access them afterwards, but it's not much. I think I have 8 cameras. I think it's
Yeah.
And I think it's like $99 for all of them a year. And that way you're able to go in and access and not just look real time and to be able to download.
Yeah. Yep. So we'd have to have this subscription cost, and of course, but that's the kind of thing I think we're looking at, is a few $100s for cameras, and then maybe $100 a year for a subscription.
You know, when you walk on my house when I'm not home, my camera says, you want to be
So do we need to have, because we don't want this to die, do we need to have any kind of a vote, hammer or whatever to say, yes, get it done? And here, do it for X amount of dollars, and this is where we want the 2 cameras, and let's just not have this go month after month after month.
If you want to set some parameters, you can. I think I brought this here just to show you kind of what we can expect to cost. So if I come next month with, hey, here's what we spent on cameras, it's just like $1,500 on what? I want to make sure there's an understanding of expected costs so that we're not blindsided by, oh yeah, we bought the most expensive camera we could. I wanted to give an idea of the feature set and the possibilities.
Is there like petty cash or something like that? I mean, on the private public works fund, or is that something that has to be budgeted in?
It's budgeted, but it is budgeted in, so we're not going to have any.
It's not a permission type of.
Yeah, it's like I just wanted an overview of what we're probably going to spend, so there's no surprises. The budget will allow us to.
So we don't need 3 more meetings to talk about it and do it.
No, ultimately, what I'm going to do is when JD gets back, I'm going to say, hey, here's what we looked at. The council wants to spend, maybe a couple hundred, maybe $300 a piece on cameras. Let's get them installed. Please do that because I'm not a handyman.
What about signs?
How about
What about signs?
signs that say like no trespassing? Or,
You have-
oh yeah,
You have to have it.
yeah. That's not terribly difficult to procure either. Yeah. Smile.
Like on a public place, you have that sign saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought,
Like, I don't know what mine costs. This is on the
I guess that's a one. That's one of these that on that one part. It doesn't have.
According to see that now, real person, but yeah. So,
Yeah.
you could finish your camera too. Now, this is.
Yeah, they do. So, yeah, I think this is squarely in JD's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I'll make sure it gets paid for. But it's been talked about a couple of times before, so I wanted there to be like a final, like, okay, we're gonna get it done. Here's how much it's gonna cost. I'll give it to JD. Here's how much we can probably expect to see on our bill list next month.
But we send JD to see
Okay.
before you go, because I mean, I'm not gonna use them. I'll just give them to the city if they're what.
I may have one still in the house. I'll do. I was giving it. I'm not getting that. Either, so. When I voice out there.
I'll find them.
Yeah.
If they'll work. It's the same ones, basically that I can pull it up on my phone and see what's going on in front of my house. Exactly. So. Except I have to, and I can aim mine.
Yeah.
From my phone.
So what's it?
Because I have to lower it down because every time a car goes by, it sets the motion detector. It goes through and I will load it until it senses motion and then before it jumps.
Good luck here.
And those.
Yeah.
It's just because he will come as far
I
as.
could probably say back up before you get shot.
Yeah.
You does some good pictures.
Yeah.
Well, the sheriff officer likes ours when our street got hit. We were able to download it, we did it from send it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that?
Nope.
We'll get it done. Oh, no, sorry. Well, that's that for this item.
Okay.
The next item is council reports.
So I went to Econ today, council. And they had the annual report with the board of directors packet. We weren't able to have the entire meeting. What I found kind of interesting is much like talking to you about LOC is, we sit at this and we're represented But they are talking about, oh, you know, we did this for Lebanon and Lake County. And so I had asked them before, I want to know what you do for Sodaville. Can you tell us of the programs that you have? What are our people using? And what's available to them? So they did for everybody a wonderful report, and they have one for Sodaville. Yeah, it really doesn't say anything. And so but I said, I don't need to see. It says Sodaville, yeah, it's really pretty, that nice picture, but what have you done for us? And he goes, well, it's gonna be really hard to part out because you have the same zip code as Lebanon. And I said, you should be able to find out what, you know, we have 3 people here to do Meals for Wheels. Do you have whatever? So they're working on trying to drill that down. And they said, well, you know, we do this for Lebanon. I said, you know, I can't go use the library in Lebanon because I don't pay their taxes. So to tell us, oh, just look at Lebanon, you know, I don't mean to be mean, but that's not really saying what you do for us. So I have asked them to kind of drill down to find out what exactly you're doing for Lebanon. But I have the information on the report. It's time, I think, for their membership to come back up, and it looks like it's going to be maybe $50 more or something. That's why I asked
not going to
population. And I said, you know, really, what are you doing for us? I mean, I think it's great that I'm at the table. I don't necessarily kind of like, oh, see, their big thing that they're going on that started before I showed up at the table was equity and inclusion, which I have a real issue with. But it really doesn't impact us up here. So anyway, if I'm trying to share the information from it, I'm trying to figure out what they really do for us. I brought Alex some brochures they gave me about some seniors services, etc. But I really want to drill down what is available to us up here. Can we get Meals on Wheels? You know, I know the transportation comes up here. What else are our citizens using? Can we tell them about? I really want to make sure that we're getting our bang for the buck. And they were talking about this equity, inclusion, and bias response team. It's a big thing in Oregon. A lot of somebody's been discriminated against for whatever. They call this number and they make a complaint. And one of the things they were talking about in this group today was, should we have law enforcement go and show up if anybody has some bias issues? And I was like, they didn't show up for people doing drugs and shooting. Why are they going to show up for, you know, you didn't serve me because I'm purple. So anyway, I am pushing to make sure we're represented. I really want to know what's, and I said, what's in for us.
Well, that would be equity and inclusion.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Are we included? How many people was it for?
What's fun time we have 3 kids running across the park shooting at squirrels towards the county road. Our counselor asked me to call the county sheriff. They said, we don't have a sheriff in the area. We pay about $2.5 to get one out there. He just told the sheriff's department, he says, I got a good one of the councilman going to take care of the problem with the south. So he called me. I walked down my stairs, got my car, and I come out of my car with my gun in my hand. He walked down the hill with his gun in the hand. County sheriff drives in and gets under his dashboard, gets on the PA. You all please know any weapons because it's 5 of our people. They said, well, Matt, we have a police car.
Yeah.
But it's going to be 2.5 hours yet. That was less than 2.5 minutes. That county sheriff was here when you tried to do it ourselves.
So it's here if anybody wants to read it. They didn't really vote on anything this time because there wasn't a quorum. And I really, on the equity and inclusion, that's great. That's a whole Oregon kind of a big thing, but I think they really need to focus on it.
Yeah, well, they're doing what the LOC is. It's the current.
Yep.
The current thing.
What's in fashion.
Right. Take care of the big city. That's not only, yeah.
Well, there are a couple of things that I like on the COG is one, the city managers meetings they do every month. That's been tremendously helpful for me, not just making connections, but also like getting valuable information, learning. Here are some things I need to look at, things I need to do for my day, and just being in the room of all these people who have been city managers for like decades. It's like, I think I'm smart, but then I go there and like, it's wonderful.
I don't, I'm not saying there isn't value, but
Yeah.
for me personally, to support to our citizens, why we're wanting to be at the table and paying the money. I want to know what's in it for us. And I said that in the meeting. What's in it for Sodaville?
Yeah.
For Sodaville.
Exactly.
Yeah. Beyond that, the other thing I was gonna say was the grant assistance they have. They help with grant writing. And that's a focus that they're looking at. I was talking to Ryan at the city managers meeting the other day, is that they're trying to figure out, we've only got so many resources, what do we go for? Do we want to do more economic development? Do we want to do more grant writing? And all the city managers are like, please do grant writing. And I think that's something that they'll probably go in more in the future. They've had grant people already have meetings with me and other like agencies in the state that have helped me figure out, okay, here's where we can look for money to do projects in the future. So that is the two concrete things I can say is one, city managers meetings I think are beneficial, and then two, their grant staff have helped me figure out how to connect with people, other places to look for money. So,
And I think as members of the council, we should be able to speak to this and be able to say, this is how they're helping. It's okay, there's Meals on Wheels, and blah, blah, blah. Plus it's helping our city reporter with this, and we're also having grant writers. But I think we need to justify when we spend money.
oh,
And I
absolutely.
think we need to make sure that they were just as important. They talk about, we were gonna have a place at the table.
Great. Here's what we want.
If we're going to pay you, we want something out of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing that they do some stuff that's a little more tangible for some of the other cities, like they're very involved in coordinating wetlands mitigation projects. We don't really have any in town, so it's not really a big deal for us. But Halsey has a big wetlands issue, and there's like meetings they have with the Army Corps of Engineers every quarter to talk about stuff. You know, those are things where like actual policy decisions get made. I went to one of those meetings. Just the worst meeting of my life. It was a drag. I'm probably never going to go again because we didn't have a witness, so it didn't matter. Yeah, but I still think there's room to, like, if they want, I can help them with their data to figure out, okay, if it's, give me a list of zip codes and people you've helped, I can figure that out. It's not difficult to do.
Well, I think they need, and they can say that they need to put it down, do geolocation or whatever, because I said, you know, we don't have a post office, we don't have a zip code.
Yeah,
But you should be able to look at addresses and say, Westview is Sodaville. Do I deliver fruit to anybody on Westview? You know, I just think we need to be able to justify, not saying that they're
Yeah,
not doing it. But this is something I asked for before. So what are you doing for Sodaville? Exactly, specifically. Great, you do it for Lynn County, and a lot of our people commute out of here, but what are you doing for our people? You should be able to figure that out by street address. I'm not saying they're not doing a good job. I'm not saying they're representing us, but I think we need to have the facts to justify where we spend money. Yep.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Exactly what needs to be
They
done.
know where we're at. Like if you know, we're a 6-digit number, 5, 3, 8, 1, 3, 6. They'll know if you're Lebanon or Sodaville because Sodaville doesn't, or Lebanon doesn't have. They're 4 digits.
Yeah. I'm 3 digits. That's great.
I think I like must have stirred things up when I said that at the end. I said, oh, this is great. Where do you live from? 3 of the people came and talked to me after the meeting. Well, let's show you this one. What do we have? I'm like, that's awesome. Give me that.
Yeah, it's good. No, that accountability is always good. I feel like I may have been coming off like I was dismissing. Well, they are doing some stuff. Well, no, that's
No,
we're
they
yeah,
did
good, yeah,
mention what they're doing with you, and that's awesome.
yeah, there are some concrete examples, but I think there's other stuff they can do a better job of representing how much they're actually doing for our citizens beyond just the stuff they're helping me with. You know, the Meals on Wheels. How many people in Sodaville are getting Meals on Wheels? That shouldn't be a difficult question to answer. And if not, how do we get people in Sodaville Meals on Wheels?
And that's what I said. If our people aren't using it, what's out there, let us tell them about it. Like the thing with the utilities getting money assistance with that. We need to push those to our citizens going, do you know you can get in there? Do you know, let's push it.
Yeah. It can be done.
Yes.
Well, you could really have quite a bit out there. There are a lot of grants like that.
Yeah, put stuff in there. Yeah, anything they want me to put in there. Yeah, give everybody sign up for Meals on Wheels. It's free.
Is there a financial, I know if you go to the senior center, there is they ask for a donation, but I don't know if there's a threshold for getting.
I don't know. That's what kind of
Stuff.
We really appreciate you going to all these meetings. and bringing us information. We go about it.
Yeah, you started feeling that well, yeah, trying grains or anything. Yeah, him and his wife have got Meals on Wheels for quite a year or so. And I think they lived in the White House down here. They asked that they got help, but this new septic system, then when the septic system went bad. Somebody, organization, helped to get septic system repaired on our property. So we have had help.
Good, good.
Some organizations.
Alex, didn't you say there's some people getting help with their utility bills?
Yeah, lots of people do get help with that. So lots of people take advantage of that. Yeah. Yep, we should all be very, very happy with them. Anytime somebody comes with the problem, they go, oh, yeah, I didn't know that. But a lot of people have, I've usually when the relationship gets set up, CSC calls me and goes, hey, this person is signed up. Can you send me their bill? And it's almost always, it's them calling me saying, hey, somebody heard about this. So, and it's being put in the newsletter, so it's something.
Good. That's what I think we're here for, is to help our citizens.
Should we have?
Yes.
Anything to say, Ray?
No.
I think I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Right.
Opposed?
Adjourned. And,